Hey everybody, welcome to Crush Cash Game, episode 41. Hope everybody's had a good weekend, good time at the tables, everybody's running good. Before I start the video, I would like to give y'all an opportunity to opt in to my email list. That's the most important thing you can do to support, enhance your edge, and the content that we create that hopefully makes you a better poker player. Maybe a better person, but maybe not. I don't know. Better poker player. That's what we're going for. On this episode, I do have Will with me. He's a fellow coach on EnhanceYourEdge.com. What is up, Will?
Just hanging out, ready to see some action here.
All right. So starting out, got queens at the top left. Let's see what develops. I do not know what's been happening this session. Looks like we're knitting it up at the top right table. We have two fish on our left.
And I think you already said why you're playing tight on the top right. As you said, there's two fish to your left. So if you have super loose stats, I think you may not be playing as correctly with two fish right behind you to act.
Yep, I agree. The queens. How do we react versus a completely unknown small three better?
I think four betting would be the correct play. Probably not too big since he's only about 50 big blinds deep though.
Yeah. I'm not really sure how I feel about four betting. We'll see what I end up doing, but I think flatting is reasonable as well. I don't think he's got a ton of value in his range. I would rather four bet. I mean, it's actually tough to four bet bluff with his stack size though. It's really awkward.
Yeah.
May have to four bet call it off with his stack size, but it does appear as if I'm going to four bet.
Yeah, I think
I gave us the okie doke.
Pump fake.
Pump fake. We were going to 4-bet and then opted to call.
477.
477's about as good a flop as we could hope for.
Very much so.
Now the question is just how do we get him to put in his money, drawing very slim. I think flatting is going to be for the best.
Yep. I would agree. Just let him half pot until all the money's in the middle. That's a snap call, yeah.
Or just let him pile the turn with an overbet.
Yeah, that overbet looks hugely fishy. I think it's just an easy snap call.
And then he disappears as mysteriously as he entered.
Bovada in a nutshell.
And I gotta say, I do like my thought in game of flatting the queens. We allowed him to stick it all in with a hand like Ace Jack. Had we 4-bet, he likely would have folded, but for sure would have folded the flop.
Yeah.
If we bet the flop, we may check call the flop. I actually like check calling the flop better than I like betting, if that's the board.
Yeah, with the stack to pot ratio, you're going to get all the money in eventually, so you might as well just give them all the chances possible. So we don't raise on the bottom left with 4-4. We just check.
Yeah, I guess we opted to see a flop and not raise for value. I mean, fours is pretty marginal for value.
Especially given his stack size, I don't mind checking 4-4 there. I think against a full stack, I'd probably be more inclined to raise, though.
Yeah, and why is that?
Just because I want to get more money and I flop a set. I think if I flop a set with 4-4 and it's just limped and he has 40 bigs, I'm still going to get it all, or I'm still going to get a lot of it. But if he has 100 bigs, I want to be sure that I'm going to get maximum value, get 3 big bets from him.
Sure, and also with more depth, we can turn our fours into bluffs and generate more fold equity with deeper stacks.
Yeah, just more post-flop playability, whereas with 40 bigs, it's we're pretty handcuffed. We need to be value betting a lot more than bluffing.
Yep. Look to be
Okay.
leaving that table at the top left.
You still have all your play chips? No, not all of them.
How many do you start with?
I think it's like 1,000 or something.
Oh yeah, I do remember losing 400 of them, and it was it was like I should still have my 1,000. I'm kind of upset about that, but
You should be.
I my fiance was sitting behind me, and I had a no limit Omaha table open, which for some reason in Play Money world that exists. And I decided to play a practical joke on her and just piled in 400 and with like some hand like deuce deuce 4 8 or something like that, and of course she saw right through my ploy. She's like that's not real. It wasn't a very good practical joke.
It's like, that was my lesson for the day. It's like, sorry. That was a full lesson. Not much action right now.
Nah, not much going on. Bottom left table, we got a fish on our direct right. Can safely presume on our left he has a fishy stack. Don't know if he's a fish or not. Top left table that we just joined. I gotta say that game looks pretty good. Just
Yeah, it looks like to your right and left you have a fish.
and to my other right as well.
Correct. The King 4 getting the showdown. Okay.
Ace Jack suited, easy open from under the gun. 2-seat looks to be a pretty good fish at the top right.
Yeah. Okay. So I think it's kind of an interesting spot because he looks like he's playing kind of tight, but your stats are really tight, so I wouldn't have minded. I wouldn't have minded four betting with Ace Jack, or at least calling even.
It's just, I mean, with him 3-betting 2%, it just felt really tough to continue with Ace Jack on a lot of boards out of position.
Yeah.
I would much rather have a pocket pair, and I'd be flatting all my pocket pairs pretty much all day.
Given the stack size, yeah.
Wonder if I'm actually thinking about the King 6 or if I'm just. I think I've waited too long now.
To cold four.
Yeah.
Seems like people give you credit if they're a new player and you just cold four bet them.
Yeah, and on the flip side, when a guy 3-bets one of his first two hands, I tend to not give him any credit.
I would absolutely agree. I give him almost no credit. The bottom right is interesting. How did this? There's an open raise, and I think you donk the flop, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, it looks like I donked the flop. He flatted, and then we checked the turn.
I think if we check, I think it probably just check fold. Yeah.
It's really
I don't see him
interesting,
having
though.
Tons of bluffs.
But how does he have a hand that's willing to bet?
If he floats with Ace Jack plus any set, not very many sets. There's only like 6 combos of sets.
But
Kings, but all of his pocket pairs want to check on that card too.
and the thing, like we led, I think it was 3 or 4 ways. So it makes it really hard for him to float us because he's got to be worried about the guys behind raising him off his floats. So really weird bet by him on the turn. I would be interested to see what he has.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's weird I think we think that it's a bad spot to float, but I think people are just going to get sticky with Ace King and Ace Queen there sometimes, so I think we may give him a little too much credit.
Yeah.
Or we may not give him as much credit as maybe his range is composed of a little more ace-x than we think. Interesting too, you guys getting back-to-back hands, and he bets really big.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think folding's fine. your ace X can't beat a ton of hands, and he has a lot of king X in his range. So, and now, would you ever consider over limping with the 6-6 on the bottom left?
Yeah, I don't think it's completely unreasonable to over limp, because generally when one of our opponents opt to isolate the fish calls, and then we can call too, and very profitably play a multi-way hand with sixes.
Yeah, I just thought of that because we just called in the big blind with the 4-4, so I thought 6-6 and the cutoff against hijack limp might be a little different, but
They're very
it's
close.
still yeah, so could do either though, and I think we'd turn a profit either way. This guy's been donking a lot, so maybe he would be a better candidate to over limp against since we can't see bet that profitably against him.
Yeah.
Or we may not get the chance to see bet that often.
Maybe we can see bet it profitably if he lets us, but
yeah, exactly.
I think with his donk donk donk, I mean he's just got a lot of ace X's in his range.
Yeah. And just like 10x that turn 2 pair or turn to draw on is not folding. So 6-8, C bet. Yeah, I like turning our hand into a bluff here. Ooh.
We opted to check back, and I guess the reason that we did decide to check back on the turn was, I mean, villain can still call with his 10x's. We do have to bet. I do feel like I would check back some of my ace x's here.
Stronger ones or weaker ones, like ace 7, ace 8, things like that. You check back, or are you still betting your ace king, ace queen, ace jacks?
I'm probably like, I think it's going to depend on the villain. In this situation, we have no information on him whatsoever.
Okay.
It's hard to get 3 bets no matter what, though, with worse hands. Even when we have ace king, getting 3 bets is tough. We got to rely on him to be floating us out of position with a hand like ace jack, or we have to know that he's a suspicious type guy, or
Okay.
he looks at us suspiciously.
Okay.
But
Yeah, that makes a fair bit of sense.
So we did check back and made 2 pair, and now we get to value bet. And I don't like our sizing here. I mean, it's actually really weird sizing. Like, I mean, it's just strange from his perspective. But the problem with the overbet sizing is he's going to think that we could check back ace X and have a lot of ace X's in our range. So we're not as polarized as I guess I thought I was in the moment.
Yeah, I would agree. It looks like, and I mean, I think you bet a fair bit of flush draws on the turn. Like probably your flush draws and gutters are gonna bet. You'll probably check back some flush draws, but you don't have a ton of air.
No, and I need to have a wider bluff range to use the overbet. I don't like that bet at all. I think we should have bet 52 or so.
One other part of that hand, I think people may gloss over sometimes. That you said that if we were gonna bluff, that you like we're betting, and I know I do this sometimes, where I'll bet the turn and then I won't bet the river, and then I think back 5 minutes later, it's like, wow, that's if I bet the turn, I need to be planning to bet the river, and I think it's one thing you've helped me with a lot is planning ahead your streets. Just planning ahead, okay, if I bet this turn, I have to bet river. So if that's the plan, is it smart? Is it going to work? I think that's just a good way to go about it.
For sure. When we just bet when the ace pops off, they kind of expect us to bet once, and they can get sticky. So, want to fire multiple shells.
Yeah, and a spots where it's going to be profitable against opponents where we think it's going to turn a profit. Most importantly, and then we check back on the 5-7 ace with the ace 9. Did he bet or did we bet on the turn?
I think we raised pre, bet flop, and check check turn, and then I bet like a little mini micro bet on the river, hoping to induce some sort of raise.
Yeah, it's good too because I mean, if he folds out chops, sometimes we got to fold out a chop for what we were getting. How much? Getting like 6-1, 6-1 on our money there.
Very unlikely we're folding out a chop.
Yeah, very unlikely.
Just hoping to get called by pocket pairs, basically.
Get called by 8s or 9s.
Yeah, that would be ideal. I think though, more than likely, he just had some sort of draw.
Probably. And then it looks like on your top left you have a short stack opening 3x under the gun. So it looks like a pretty good table. And to your direct right you have a guy that has exactly 500. It also looks like a good table.
Yeah, I'm looking back. I'm envious of my past self for his table selection. He did good.
Yeah, I know. I wish you could have these good tables every time. I don't know about you, but I always line up whenever I see a fish, I immediately tag him with the green tag. So I like when my table's just lit up with green tags.
Yeah, that's always fun times when you have three green tags on one table. That's going to be a happy, profitable table.
It's beautiful. Ace deuce, I think I would definitely be opening. Especially with 5, knowing that he's a fish more than likely.
So we get a tank and then a 3-bet with the 9s. I think this is a pretty interesting spot. If I know myself, and I do, I'm not folding.
It's pretty big sizing.
Probably not 4-betting, just flatting.
And only 17 hands on this guy, so there's not tons we can draw from. Not tons we can draw from 17 hands.
And here's the conundrum on the flop is when he bets and we call, we have a lot of pocket pairs in our range. And if he's smart and understands his range versus our range, he can kind of go ham and do a lot of betting to fold out a lot of our hands. So we really need to have a good plan, a good feel for the opponent on the flop to make good decisions later down the decision tree. He checks back. Now it's just a clear check from us. It's really our only option.
Yeah. I would agree. Yeah, and that is a very difficult spot. It's like one you run into a lot where your range consists of pairs, pocket pairs, and his consists of over pairs. It's tough. It's a tough situation.
Tough to navigate. And as we just saw, if I did feel like he was screwing around and c-betting light, I would have been wrong because he just checked it down. He just checked it down with us, didn't apply any pressure. If I had to imagine, I didn't go back and look at it, but I would assume he's got a hand that has some showdown value like 5s or 6s.
That makes sense. Or he turned I don't think he'd check a queen. Well,
he's probably going to bet a queen for value and protection.
Yeah, you'd think so from one heart. And he gets squeezed. Right, and that guy snap calls. Yeah, and King Jack, I like your fold. It's even though we're and someone overcalled, like there's already 2 calls in front of us, and we're closing the action. King Jack is just doing pretty poorly against both of their ranges, so I think we can easily fold, not get ourselves in trouble.
Yep, and then the bottom right table, we raised pre c-bet flop, got called by Nitty McNitterson, and turn 7 check river 8. That was the action there. Then the ace jack hand, we're obviously hoping to limp raise. What's our sizing here with the the full house.
Against Nitty McNitterson,
Yeah.
I would size it up. I would size it up and just get called by 10x.
Yeah, I
Does he
mean,
have nines? He could have nines, I guess, too.
this isn't a spot where we're very credible with our super strong hands. We really, when we size up on the river or overbet or something like that, we're kind of just repping eights full. Like, nothing else makes a ton of sense.
Yeah. And I think most people put that together, though. Excuse me. But I feel like nittier players, they just kind of play their hand straight forward. They don't really think about what we're betting. And you bet 66 on the river, or is that 88?
It's 68. We went for the overbet again, which I mind it less in that spot versus the other spot. And again, I just kind of assumed that he had a pocket pair.
Yeah, I think he leads out a lot of 10x there.
Agreed.
Now, we won on the left? Yes, we did win on the left with the limp raise.
Nothing.
Went ahead and bet.
Nothing exciting.
Yeah. Just limp raise, not the ace king, taking it down.
There was a flop. There was a flop. I think we limp raised. He flatted. We bet. He folded.
It was a wet flop too. It was like 9-5-7, 2 diamonds or something like that.
Yeah, no fear.
Yeah, exactly. Still see betting.
Looks like a pretty big pot at the top left table. Let's go see the action that got us there. So it's going to be the 6 seat 3 bets. Oh, min 3 bets.
Wow. In 3 bets, he has to call and then gets a pretty ugly turn once we speed up to it.
Yeah. I mean, this guy's tanking forever. And now min 3 better bets the flop, I guess.
Bets pot. See pot coming here? Be like 70 something.
He's thinking about it. I don't know what exactly there is to be thought about.
I think someone that's min 3 betting isn't exactly.
It takes his gears longer to go than other people. He's like your old computer. It does a lot of crunching, thinking.
A lot of crunching, exactly. And now this is a spot where you get into sometimes, and I feel like I just check almost my entire range here when I get in 3 bet pots, and I see bet get called, and then board pairs top pair.
And he bet huge too. He bet 60. So, for you guys out there that are watching and you find yourselves always running into the top of people's ranges, when you bet 60 into 75, you're only getting called by strong hands, just for what it's worth.
Agreed. And I like that 3 bet on the bottom right against that particular player. He's opening enough where I think he's just going to fold. I think we just ran into it there.
So now 6 seeds at another decision after betting 90 on the turn.
Bet very small, like he was scared. Like either like he was scared of that card or he just has it. I don't know which. I think we're about to find out though.
He's thinking again. His gears are turning, and now Mr. 3 seat, I feel, is pretty much gonna stuff.
Yeah, I would be surprised if anything else happened. I think he should just be stuffing any queen. Pretty much everything he gets to the river with, he should just be stuffing at this point.
Jacks actually is probably just a check back. Jacks and tens.
Yeah. That actually makes a fair bit of sense. Or the nuts, second nuts, whatever. I mean, yeah, aces.
And the fish got effed.
Yeah, his sizing was very transparent too. If you like, I was deciding if he just had a queen and he had the nuts on the turn basically, or he was really scared of the queen, and his sizing indicated that he was pretty scared of the queen.
I think this is an interesting spot to kind of think about it for a second, because when thinking like a fish, let's go through the entire hand.
Okay.
Guy raises. Fish has aces. Says, I don't want guy to fold. Therefore, I'm going to 3 bet the minimum. right? Like
Minimum, yes.
wants to get more money in the pot, but doesn't want to scare the guy away, So gives the guy a good price to peel with his entire range. If I have deuce 7 there, I'm peeling. I'm not folding any 2 cards.
Incorrectly.
Yeah.
Incorrectly with any 2 cards.
Yeah, and so he gives the guy an opportunity to peel. The guy flops the nut flush draw, so good equity hand. Villain bets in such a manner that he folds out a lot of the hands that might float him on the flop, a lot of the weaker hands. So incorrect sizing pre, incorrect sizing on the flop. The turn bet, I don't know what to think about it. I mean, he decided to bet small, and decided to bet small, and he goes broke if the guy has a queen. So if the guy ships, he's going broke. So basically, he gave the guy good odds to peel to his nut flush, heading into the river. So again, poor bet sizing on the turn, and then the river, when the flush gets there, fish no longer beats a single hand that villain can ship. And fish check calls it off. Is that
would summarize all the mistakes in that hand, correct?
Yeah, that's a synopsis of that hand. So fish decided to make 1, 2, 3, 4 mistakes, and and here's the end of the story is that guy is now running to his friends and telling him about the bad beat that he had and how Bovada's rigged. Because his aces lost to ace 6.
Yeah. That sounds about right. That sounds about right. And, I mean, that's another thing, too. Just if someone shows, takes a super strong line on the flop, like pre-flop and flop, that's so strong to min bet and then just basically pot, they aren't folding. So that's Don't try and get fancy and float with a pocket pair, do anything like that. He's not going to fold.
Yeah, your fold equity is not very high. I mean, the front door flush draw got there, top pair paired, he still paid off a huge river bet.
Exactly.
Dude ain't ever folding, never bluffed the fish in that spot, ever.
Yep. Yeah, and that's another thing you can take away is just, if you're going to try and bluff someone off the top of their range, make sure they can put together what you're trying to tell them, what kind of story you're trying to tell them, and make sure they're capable of making those folds at the top of their range.
Yep.
And I don't think fish are going to be capable of that very often.
No, that's why, when you have pocket pairs and you can put the guy on a pretty strong, 3-betting range pre, just peel, man. If it's close, just peel, because when you get there, they're married to their hand and they're not going to fold.
Yeah, they make it worth your while. So just stick around and flop the set.
Yes, sir. Nitty McNitterson at the bottom right table, 3 bets 3x. If I'm the 3 seat there, I'm peeling with all my pocket pairs, and he 4 bets. That's very interesting.
And we decided to check the top right. I found that kind of interesting. Given the guy's stats, he's only 11 hands. Now, why don't you want to bet? Do you not want to bet because you don't want to bet call or bet fold, or?
Sometimes I bet, sometimes I check. Sometimes I check to give him a little rope to put in 1 bet with hands that I have very little to no equity against.
Yeah.
So like a king jack or king 10 type hand that maybe he doesn't call the flop, but he will bet the flop.
Okay. It's probably good. Bet sometimes, check sometimes. Like ace 10, ace jack are basically the same hands. So
sure.
Checking and betting are sometimes good. And you go for a small bet. I thought you may overbet, but I don't think you rep. I don't think it's a great spot to overbet.
Yeah, we don't rep many bluffs with an overbet because most of our bluffs that he could think we have are going to be betting the flop. Like if we have the king jack or if we have the king 10, or the jack 10 or the flush draw, we're betting the flop. Yeah. So I was basically trying to get paid by a queen, and he thought about it for a while, and my assumption is that he was not thinking about folding. He was thinking about potentially raising.
Which is good. If you can get him to put in some more money at that sizing. Bottom right, I noticed you had the 310 and 93-cent stack sit down.
310 and 93 cents. Yes, that is a good stack size.
Yeah, whenever you see that, it's usually yeah, I usually like when they sit down. So hopefully a couple more good spots come up here. Been some interesting ones.
Yeah, it's been an interesting session. Doesn't look like I'm winning much money this session, but that's okay.
Well, you forgot you had $2,000 tables up at the top, but you changed them out.
Those don't count. They're
forget
gone.
about those, Brad.
They're gone in the abyss. They don't count anymore.
So now it's all 100 big blind stacks. So now will you leave? So honestly, I have a hard time leaving tables when I have like 250 big blinds plus. I'm just like, I feel like I have a really good image when you have that much money on the table. Usually people will believe you.
It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
I just kind of go with the flow of if the game's breaking up, then I leave and like whatever. It's not. I don't stay at a table based on my stack size.
Yeah. That's probably better anyways.
I don't really have problems finding decent games to play in. And we only have 4, we only have 4 slots for our tables, so we need to make each slot count.
Yeah. Bottom right, I noticed this guy Minray's player 3. Which I thought he kind of has like, he was also the guy that 4-bet McNitterson.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he's just a fish or he just has the nuts every time. I'm not sure.
He has reggish stats. Don't know if that's enough to discern.
No, you really can't.
I don't think he's messing around with the nit. I mean, he just ain't. Now we do have an interesting spot with the queens. We get 3-bet tinily. Now I am going to 4-bet. This time I 4-bet with the queens, probably because his sizing is so small that I don't want to allow him to get free equity with his marginal strength type hand.
I would say that's the best play.
And he's fishy. He's playing half the hands. Hasn't 3-bet yet, but whatever.
Yeah, I mean, you have queens, so it is what it is. 4-betting is going to be a lot better, I think. Player 3 I also noticed on the right, not to take away from that hand, he min-raised with middle pair and an overcard, and then turn 2 pair.
He min-raised the flop?
He min-raised a 10-9-3, 2 clubs with Jack-9 of hearts, and then turned a jack.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Pretty good turn card, yeah.
Yeah.
Player 3, and you could definitely going to be peeling with the 3s bottom left. No. There's a 3.
It's easy mode, right?
Yeah. That's the best when you just get in a day where you just flop like 5-6 sets. It's like, man, these are not hard to play at all.
Then you get atrocious runouts and they turn into being pretty tough to play. You get ace 9-10, turn 8 river jack. What do we do?
Yep. That's no fun.
So,
and this is a pretty dry board.
Yeah, we are going to raise. We don't have, from Villain's perspective, we shouldn't have a ton of value that can just go ahead and raise the flop. Sets of trays, sets of 8s. Potentially, if we don't 3-bet our pocket 8s, which we probably don't, then we have a lot of combo draws in our check raising range.
That seems fine, and especially against a short stack, I don't know if he's apt to be tight with a shorter stack or he's playing looser, but if he's playing tighter, probably just want to get money in while the board, he's still comfortable with how the board is. So you don't want a spade to peel off or the queen to peel off, and then he hates his overpair.
And we just folded king queen versus a cutoff raise versus Nitty McNitterson.
His his cousin on another table playing.
It's probably the same dude. Inbred.
There's actually one pretty recognizable guy running around the lobbies right now. I've seen him a little bit.
Looks like we got about 2 minutes left in this video. Ran a little long because we paused and had some interesting spots. Even the spot that we weren't involved in with the ace-6, I think, was a very valuable spot and a lesson in how not to do it.
Yeah.
Let's just flop another set with the fours. Let's keep this party going.
You can't flop back-to-back sets. You just got to fold the second pocket pair and you get it.
I don't believe that. I believe I can flop a set every time. I'm an eternal optimist.
And one other thing to point out, too, I don't know how this guy's playing. A little fishy, but actually, I want to see. I was going to say I thought he would be a little tighter, given how short player 4 was, but he just went ahead and popped it with king-queen, so...
And he got dominated to call. I mean, he got queen-8 to call and then put his money in, drawing close to dead. So,
hey, he had runner trip outs. He was still alive.
Yeah, he was barely alive. Probably will call a river bet with the ace-queen because what's dude repping?
And he led, you check back flop, and then he just bet.
No. I think he limp pre, we raised, flop, we bet small, he called, and then check turn, and he potted. So...
Yeah, actually, I think so.
He's repping very polarized, and he just happened to have it. I guess when a guy's polarized, it means they do have it on occasion.
Yep. But your thought behind the hand is pretty spot on. It's not much he can bet besides a 6 there.
Yeah, I'm not hating myself. Hating on myself for that.
Well, hopefully he bets again, so hopefully he raises so you can 3-bet him here.
Oh, he disappointed. Now we limp, and probably not much else happens with 40 seconds left. We got a little short stack going. We limp call. That's
wow.
That's
this is interesting.
We could have 3-bet. Probably preferable to 3-bet, but we do have pretty nitty stats. So I wanted to give him opportunity. This is the session where we're basically making weird decisions with pocket queens, I think. we flatted a 3-bet, we 4-bet, and now we've flatted a raise.
Well, you've won every time, right? Queen.
Yeah, we have. We've won them all. So
ace jack piled.
See that's what matters. We just won them all. Went 3-0.
Yeah, that's my goal every session.
Yep. So thank you guys very much for watching. As always, have a really good week and stay warm. And we'll talk to you soon. Take care.